Now, this video is a continuation of the previous video, which was talking about, the purpose of man. So if you haven't watched that video about the purpose of man, you're gonna find it, at the end of this video. You can go back and watch that. You need to begin from there, the purpose of man. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about the purpose of the church. So we established in the previous video that when God created man, the church was not in existence. And so God gave a purpose for man. He explained the purpose why he created man. The church only came in afterwards. So we understood that the purpose why God created man was to manage the earth, was to take control, was to oversee his creation, which was the earth, the mountains, the seas, the trees, the plants, the animals, to manage everything, right? That is the purpose why God had, created man. Now, after God created man, like we looked at in verse 8, when he says, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. After he had done that, if we move forward to Genesis chapter 2, we're going to hear what the story says. God planted a garden in Eden, and there he placed man and told man that I want you to do something in this garden. I want you to look over this garden for me. But here is the instruction that I want you to follow while you're looking over this garden. Here's the instruction that I want you to follow. He gave man very strict instructions when at the point where he put him in the garden. He gave him strict instructions. He told him that feel free in this garden. Till it, walk it, clean it. He said, feel free. And anything in this garden that you feel like eating, go ahead and eat. But here's my strict instruction. Please, this particular tree, do not eat the fruit from this tree, because if you do, you are going to die. So God, like I said in the previous video, he is the founder of the earth. He is the stakeholder of the earth. He is the shareholder, the only shareholder of the earth, or let me say that, which is a group of them, right, which is God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. The three of them are the three shareholders of the earth. And so they employed man to be the chief executive officer, the overall manager of the earth. And just like a CEO works for the interest of their founder and their shareholders, man was also expected to run the earth, including the garden, for the interest of God, or the interest of the shareholders, which is God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, who are all one. So he was expected to manage the earth, including the garden, under strict instructions of his shareholders, which was God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and for their interest. But then a problem occurred. And the problem that occurred was that the devil came along, and I'm not going to go into biblical depths here, right? But the devil, Satan, existed before Genesis 1. That's a whole different story. I wouldn't get into that. But Satan existed before Genesis 1. And so Satan came and got into the serpent, and then Satan now came and spoke to man and gave man a contrary instruction of what to do on earth and in the garden, which was contrary to what man's boss, which was contrary to what man's shareholders had given them. And man actually went ahead and obeyed what Satan told him to do. And so that's what God, the shareholders, the stakeholders of the earth, which was God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, to be angry with man. And like, man, who are you working for? Who are you employed by? Who pays you your salary? And the shareholders were like, we are offended. We are so disappointed in you, Adam. We are your employers. We have provided you food, everything in the garden. We pay you food. We give you shelter. We give you mobility. You can use the horses. And we are the ones who pay you. And we have put you in this earth and put you in the head office, which is called the Garden of Eden. So the Garden of Eden was one little place in the entire world. So you can look at the Garden of Eden to be Washington, D.C., like the headquarters, or the capital of the United States. The Garden of Eden was like Yaoundé, which is the capital of Cameroon. So that garden was like the White House. It was like Palais de Congrès. And so the shareholders, which is God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, were so disappointed in Adam. And like, Adam, who are you working for? Who is your employer? We are your employers. We pay your paycheck. You ought to manage this earth for our interest and under our instruction. How then would you allow our competitor? Because guess what? For lack of better words, just take this literally, right? This is for lack of better words. Satan is like the competitor of God. Again, for lack of better words. But if we look at things very clearly, Satan stands nowhere close to God because God created Satan and he can crush the guy in a single minute. But for the sake of what I'm trying to explain here, Adam listened to his competitor. It's like the CEO of Mercedes-Benz is listening from the shareholders of BMW. That's what man did. That was so bad of man. So consequently, the shareholders of the earth, which is God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, three Godheads, they dismissed man from the Garden of Eden. They did not dismiss man from his purpose. They removed him from the office, from the White House, which was the Garden of Eden. Because he was employed as a manager of the earth, and he was given the White House as a place to live. So he was given shelter, which is the Garden of Eden, just like a president is given the White House. And he is given a vehicle, and he has his feeding and everything there. So man was removed from the head office of the earth, which was the Garden of Eden. He was removed from that. But man was not removed from his purpose. So man lost that direct communication, that direct access, to God, who is the shareholder of the earth. And if you are a corporate person, you will understand that for a CEO or a general manager or the CEO to function appropriately in his role, he needs to have direct access to the shareholders or the stakeholders, whoever, the board of directors, the stakeholders at any time. He has to be in close communication with them, update them from time to time on what is happening with the state of affairs in the company, and get their inputs and always factor that inputs into the management of the company. So when man Adam disappointed God, God removed Adam from that office, from the White House, removed him from Eden, but he still resided in the earth. So man lost that direct touch and contact with God. And so with that, man could not effectively discharge. Man lost his ability to effectively discharge his role of being the manager of the earth. Now, because of that fall of man from a place of direct communication and interaction with God, the church came. The church was born. So the church now was born in effort to reconnect man back to that direct interaction with God. So the purpose of the church did not come to alter the purpose of man. The church came to connect man back to God and to make man to understand that for man to effectively discharge his purpose, he needs to be connected back to his stakeholder, to his shareholders, which are the Godheads. And he should understand that the success of discharging his role, lies in being loyal to his shareholder, which are the Godheads. That is the purpose of the church. That is why this institution, I call the church an institution, this institution of the church was born. And like every other institution, an institution cannot function effectively without having leadership. Every institution needs leadership for it to function effectively. And so the church also needs leadership. So consequently, since God has created this institution called the church, therefore the church needs leadership, which now refers to the apostles, the prophets, the pastors, the teachers, the evangelists, the fivefold ministry. They are the leaders of this institution called the church. And so their job is to take the gospel and evangelize to every human on earth, and to remind them that the person who created you is God. And he wants to get back in a relationship with you. And the only way you can be successful in this life and what you do is to be reconnected back to God. So the fivefold ministry are placed as the leaders over the institution called the church to share the gospel of the good news, to reconcile man back to God. That is the purpose of the church. Now, I'll go back again. The purpose of man is to manage the earth. The purpose of the church is to connect man back, to reconcile man back to God, and make man to understand that their effectiveness in discharging their purpose on earth is highly dependent on them being connected back to God and them walking in obedience to God and to walk in the interest and the direction of God. That right there is the purpose of the church. The next, we're going to be talking about the purpose of Christians. And then we are going to tie all of these three together to see how